let's talk about stimulation. I think a lot of us have gotten so used to constant stimulation that silence almost feels psychologically threatening. And I don't just mean like boredom, I mean actual stillness. No noise, no movement, moments where there's nothing distracting you from yourself. So, no scrolling, no music, no second screen, no background YouTube video while you eat, no podcast playing while you shower, no checking your phone every 2 minutes because your brain suddenly feels really uncomfortable being left alone with your own thoughts. I started thinking about this recently because I noticed how instinctive it's become for me. Well, I guess not recently, but for many years now. And honestly, for most people I know, I immediately reach for stimulation the second there's any bit of a gap in attention. And I know that we don't fully realize we're doing it anymore. It's just a part of who we are. You can feel it everywhere. People watching TikToks while other videos play in the background. Go into any coffee shop. It's been like this for well over a decade. People just on their phones, even in groups of people outside, people on their phones, no matter what. I mean, we're always consuming something to achieve some form of mental stimulation. Even checking phones during movies. I have very guilty of looking at my phone right until the movie starts. We scroll while we eat. We listen to podcasts while gaming, while texting somebody at the same time. And I'm not even saying that technology is evil at all, because you know that based on what I've said before, that I think the internet has helped a lot of people survive emotionally. I know that it has helped me at different points in my life. But I do think that something has shifted in the way our nervous systems relate to silence. Noise stopped being just another form of entertainment for me and started becoming a way to regulate myself. And I think, or rather, I know that fundamentally changes a person. Because if your brain never fully settles, eventually you stop knowing what your unstimulated self even feels like anymore. I think that's where a lot of people have been for the last 10 years or so. I wouldn't look at you or me and say that you are fundamentally broken or lazy or incapable of focus. Though some of us, many of us, have been diagnosed with ADHD and other forms of attention deficit disorders. I think more often than not, we're just overstimulated beyond what a human nervous system was really designed to process continually. And the crazy part is modern life rewards this kind of behavior. We know now that our algorithms reward intensity. They reward engagement that stays in one place. And we know now that the type of content that generates the most attention are those of high intensity. And so the internet, the algorithm rewards intensity. The internet rewards immediacy. Social media rewards reaction, whether positive or negative. And everything is optimized to keep your attention emotionally activated for as long as possible. After a while, your baseline starts to change. And by baseline, I mean what you should normally feel like on a day-to-day level. Not all of us are going to have the same baseline, but more or less, a healthy baseline should be one that isn't sustaining a lot of stress over extended periods of time. And so when our baseline changes, silence starts feeling unnatural. I noticed this many years ago, up until now, when I try to just sit in my room for a few minutes without reaching for anything. And I mean literally sitting in my room not doing anything. Last year, I got really heavy into somatic practices, and that includes breath work, but also like meditation, just sitting in silence. And when I was incredibly depressed, when I was incredibly just in it, deep in it, navigating betrayal trauma and PTSD, it was easy to get into because I think, mentally you kind of go through a hard reset when you experience something traumatically. And so in my opinion, it's easier to develop new habits. But when I reached my normal baseline again, I stopped practicing meditation. I stopped practicing sitting in silence. Um, that includes, existing with no phone, no music, no video, nothing in my ears. And within seconds, I always feel this weird internal restlessness. Like my brain immediately starts searching for something to grab onto. Like I'm mentally falling down or can't keep my footing, so I need to grab onto something. And that always scares me a little because I realized how difficult it's become to simply exist without any form of input in my life. And I don't think that I'm alone in that. There's actually research out there that shows that constant digital stimulation affects our ability to sustain attention and emotionally regulate ourselves over time. Because attention is tied to presence, right? And presence is tied to what? Relationships. Your relationship isn't going to thrive if you're not present, whether that's romantic or platonic. Attention is tied to so much. It's tied to memory. It's tied to emotional processing. It's even tied to our identity. So if your nervous system is constantly being interrupted, eventually your inner life starts feeling fragmented too. And I think a lot of people mistake that fragmentation for personality now. That's why we see these kind of silly memes online about being overstimulated or joking about wanting to be overstimulated or labeling ourselves as chaotic or weird because we can't focus and we need all these stimulating things in our life. We joke about being chronically online, overthinkers. But I wonder sometimes how much of that is actually us at a healthy baseline versus what happens to a brain that's been conditioned to accept constant stimulation. I don't think some people know whether they're energetic or just overstimulated anymore. And I say that without judgment because this has been me my whole life. And if it hasn't, it certainly has been in the last 10 years of my life. There have been moments where I could feel myself emotionally avoiding things by drowning myself in input. And by input, I mean scrolling, watching things endlessly, seeing hours fly by on TikTok or Instagram Reels, just consuming constantly, no matter what. I need to fill every quiet moment almost immediately. And I don't think that's a result of me being happy. I think it's because silence can force us to confront what's underneath all of that noise, which really is things we have not yet processed that aren't fun to process, right? Like grief or anxiety or loneliness, fear, uncertainty, whatever your nervous system has been outrunning for months, years, or your entire life. I think modern life makes it very easy to just outrun yourself indefinitely. There's always another notification. There's always another video, another opinion. It seems like most content now on TikTok or any social media is just somebody critiquing somebody else's idea or somebody reacting to somebody else's crash out. It's like we have to outperform each other with these intense opinions or intense crash out moments. And it just turns out it just ends up being crisis after crisis. Another thing demanding emotional energy from you and I. And eventually your brain adapts to living in a constant state of low level activation. That's why it feels so weird now to do nothing. Sometimes actual real rest almost feels uncomfortable. You feel guilty, you feel ashamed, you feel restless, like you aren't doing enough. And so you finally sit down, and at the end of the day, instead of feeling peaceful like our bodies have evolved to feel over thousands of years, our brains start to feel agitated, like we still need more, like we didn't truly get the rest we needed because we crave more noise, we crave more distraction, we crave more stimulation. I mean, I don't blame you. There's a lot going on in the world, and I try my hardest to advocate for many things in my life. If you are from my Instagram page, you know that I've talked at length and made many posts about things that we should be concerned about in the world. And I fully believe that mental health is just tied to politics. And if we don't care about politics, well, our mental health is going to suffer as a result. But I've also said a few times before that if you don't rest, if you don't know your limits, your capacity, you're going to just burn out and feel incredibly defeated and hopeless and depressed. And maybe you will end up just melting into this puddle of what you once were. And because we stopped engaging in a normal rhythm of true resting, and I mean true resting, all we know of our baseline in life is just overstimulation. And I definitely know that we don't talk enough about what that does to people emotionally, because overstimulation doesn't just affect productivity, it affects your ability to emotionally land anywhere. Your attention is fragmented. Your relationships are fragmented. Your thoughts become fragmented. Your sense of self becomes nothing more than fragmented. Who am I? What is the sum of my being? There are so many versions of myself that I feel like I have to be or I am when I'm alone or when I'm in different places or when I'm around different people. And it isn't because you're weak. This has nothing to do with you being weak. It's because your nervous system just hasn't had the chance anymore to fully exhale, to fully breathe, to fully exist with no outside stressors. We can't even be entertained without some level of intensity. Like, have you realized that what people find interesting in media nowadays, whether it's TV shows or movie or novels even, they all revolve around some level of intensity, some level of intense drama or intense romance. And everything is loud. Everything is fast, emotionally heightened, and optimized to keep us watching because there needs to be incentive for us to play the next episode. And after enough time inside that environment, stillness is going to feel almost psychologically unfamiliar. And so lately, I've been trying to reconnect with the quieter parts of life again. Heck, even recording this right now, just the silence I can feel, that's the longest silence I've had in a few days. I don't normally exist in my own room without something playing on the TV. It's the small things. And so I've started going on walks without my headphones in. I've started letting myself sit with my thoughts a little longer, even though most of them right now in my life are the very reason why I have more noise in my life than usual because I don't want to hear them. But I also don't want to prolong this season this season in my life where I feel mostly hopeless or I feel like I'm carrying an intense amount of shame and grief and guilt. And I can't fast track that process of moving forward with my life. without the small things. So I'm not even talking about like going all in and just not looking at your phone for a whole 12 to 16 hours of your day. I mean just like just small. Just 5 minutes to start, 10 minutes if you want to be a little brave. Do that and notice how much slower your conversations become. Spend time in spaces that don't demand constant performance. Like go to, a coffee shop or a park, bring a book. And yes, even though reading is a form of mental stimulation, it's still far from what we consume on the daily. It's still I think, a much healthier form of stimulation. And if you want to go the extra mile, I mean, pick up a book about, becoming a better person or understanding emotions better or learning what a healthy relationship looks like or how to overcome addiction or how to, stop bad habits. There are healthy ways of stimulating your mind because stimulation is necessary. You need stimulation. But right now, we need to focus more on finding the right kind of stimulation and understanding that silence isn't emptiness. Silence is where we can finally start the process of healing ourselves with clarity. Silence is not the algorithmic version of yourself. It's not the constantly reacting version of yourself. It's not the overstimulated version of yourself. Sit in silence and you'll know exactly who you are. Because underneath all of the noise, and maybe that's part of why stillness feels so comfortable at first, because when the distractions disappear, you have to meet yourself again, like the real you. And I think a lot of us have spent a really long time avoiding that meeting without even realizing it. And so I'm not saying like everybody needs to disappear. I'm not telling you to go into the woods and throw your phone in a lake. I'm not telling you to be radically silent. Nor am I trying to romanticize some fake hyper minimalistic life either. As much as I would love to live a hyper minimalistic life, I know that it's not that healthy if you truly have nothing. It's okay to enjoy having things. It's okay to paint your walls with color and own things that make you happy. Those are all healthy forms of stimulation. I just think that we've underestimated how deeply constant stimulation affects our nervous system. And I'm starting to think that some people aren't that emotionally broken, they're just overwhelmed. That's where these ideas of brokenness come in is your body, your mind is sustaining so much stress because we simply consume too much. So yeah, I think healing starts smaller than we think. I think healing starts with learning how to tolerate stillness again. I think it starts with sitting in silence long enough to remember what our own mind sounds like underneath all the noise. And whether we like it or not, that will give us more clarity on the things that we need to process and overcome to make our baseline healthy again.